House of Representatives demand termination of Mustafa Mahaja, NEMA Director General, over alleged 33 billion naira fraud. Court orders federal government and organized labor till end of January to submit a report of negotiation over new minimum wage. In international news, 3 stabbed, 1 dead in Melbourne, Australia, terror ruled out. And in sport, Super Falcons ASEC Mimosas under 16 to clash in friendly.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The House of Representatives has charged Mustafa Mahaja, Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, with alleged embezzlement of funds in excess of 33 billion naira under his watch. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was also faulted for allegedly approving almost 6 billion naira Northeast Intervention Fund, which the House claimed was illegal. The House has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to sack Mahaja, while the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission were directed to prosecute the DG and recover the funds listed against him. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, had earlier rejected the report of the House of Representatives Committee, which accused it of poor management of relief items meant for 16 states. The National Industrial Court of Nigeria in Abuja has ordered both the federal government and organized labor to submit by January next year a report of the negotiations of the disputes over the new minimum wage. Justice Sanusi Kado adjourned the case till Thursday after issuing an ex parte order stopping the strike, which the labor had planned to commence on Tuesday. At the resumed hearing on Thursday, the 3 defendants, the National Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress and the Nigerian Governors Forum, were absent and were also not represented by any lawyer. For the plaintiffs, the federal government and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, were represented by the legal team led by Emmanuel Onomoro. After March plea, Justice Kado adjourned till end of January for the parties to report to the court on whether they had settled amicably. After several disturbing reports on open defecation in Nigeria, the President Muhammadu Buhari has declared a state of emergency on Nigeria's water supply, sanitation and hygiene sector. President Buhari directed government at all levels to intensify reports and work towards meeting the nation's water supply and sanitation needs. The President said the declaration had become highly important to eradicate the high prevalence of waterborne diseases in different parts of the country, which has caused preventable deaths. Access to piped water services, which was 32% in 1990, has declined to 7% in 2015. Access to improved sanitation has also decreased from 38% in 1990 to 29% in 2015. Nigeria now ranks number 2 in the world in open defecation that involves 25% of the population. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, is expected to return to the Department of State Services for further interrogation when he returns to the country. President Buhari has also approved the investigation. DSS Director General Yusuf Beche has informed the president about the desire of the agency to question Oshiomhole. The leaders and governors believe Oshiomhole did not handle well the just concluded nationwide party primaries. The DSS grilled Oshiomhole for about 9 hours between early this week before he traveled out of the country. The outgoing British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Paul Arkwright, has called on the Islamic movement in Nigeria and security agencies to obey the rule of law in their activities. While speaking to journalists, Arkwright expressed hope that a move by the government to investigate the clashes between the group and security forces would help handle such situations in the future. The envoy said population explosion management and sustainable economic development remained the focal point of the British government's engagement with Nigeria. The envoy described his stay in Nigeria as memorable, adding that the British government would continue to support the government's fight against corruption. Arkwright's successor, Katrina Lang, is expected to assume her office in the country later this month. We've been following this report for a while and have given Dedicated updates has it unfolds. A federal high court sitting in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, has fixed December the 7th for hearing a dispute instituted by the Benue State government against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, United Bank for Africa, UBA, and Fidelity Bank over the freezing of the state government accounts in the aforementioned banks. When the suit began, counsel to the state government, Okon Esiot, told the court all the parties in the suit have been served, but the counter affidavits of the second and third of defendants, UBA and Fidelity Bank, were just served on him on Thursday. Esiot said he needed time to study the affidavit and respond to him. Trial Judge Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon adjourned the case till December the 7th. 129 inmates of the Enugu Maximum Security Prison of the Nigerian Prison Service will sit for the National Examination Council (NECO) November-December examination. The NPS Public Relations Officer in Enugu State, Chukwemeka Monday, confirmed that the number was the highest since the inception of the prison center for the examination. The service spokesperson said the inmates had been well tutored and prepared by best hands to put up a good performance and surpass last year's performance. Coming up, African stories. UN vows to tackle DRC rebels. And later, one dead in Melbourne stabbing.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and African Stories. The U.S. says it is ready to do business with Africa to help grow the country's economy. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of African Affairs, Thibault Negi Jr., told the BBC ahead of his 2-week trip to Togo, Guinea, Mali, and Nigeria that the U.S. goal is to see a prosperous, stable Africa with human rights, good governance, and democracy. Negi said Africa is the only issue in American politics that is absolutely non-partisan. He says his plan for Africa is for the world to see the continent through the windscreen and not through the rear-view mirror. Head of the United Nations peacekeeping operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, has vowed to do more with the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to help improve security in the country's east. Rebels' attacks there are affecting efforts to contain an Ebola outbreak that has killed more than 150 persons. World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom joined Lacroix in Benin as part of a joint UN effort to stop Ebola. Meanwhile, the United States Agency for International Development says it is worried about the current outbreak in an active conflict zone that is making it difficult for health workers to track down and isolate cases. There are more than 300 confirmed and probable cases so far. And the United Nations Food Agency has warned that nearly 2 million persons in the Central African Republic urgently need feeding as the country faces the worst food insecurity in 4 years as a result of violence. Figures on food security compiled by the World Food Programme 2 months ago found the worst results since 2014, with just about 2 million persons in need of urgent food action because of the deteriorating situation on persistent insecurity. WFP says urgent action was necessary to prevent a humanitarian tragedy as the situation was having a direct impact on food security. African Union Commission Chairperson Musa Faki Mohammed has called for a renewed effort at finding a peaceful solution to the conflict in Cameroon. Faki's call comes after dozens of kidnapped school children, reportedly by Anglophone separatists, were reunited with their parents. School principal and one teachers are still in captivity. The AU boss says the perpetrators must be identified and brought to justice. Activists claim the country's French-speaking majority is marginalizing the English-speaking minority. South Africa's anti-corruption watchdog, the Public Protector's Office, said on Thursday it was investigating Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan for allegedly abusing his powers during his time as finance minister. The watchdog said it was looking into allegations that Gordhan, a close ally of President Cyril Ramaphosa, wrongly approved an early retirement package for a senior tax official at the South African Revenue Service in 2010, and then allowed him to be re-employed at the agency on a contract basis. The Public Protector's Office said the investigation into Gordhan's activity started in 2016 and has now reached a stage where it was ready to conduct interviews. An Egyptian court has given long jail terms to 60 persons accused of forming a terrorist cell affiliated to the Islamic State group. 19 of the defendants were handed life imprisonment, while the rest will spend 15 years behind bars. Ethiopia police say they have uncovered a grave containing at least 200 bodies along the border between the strife-torn Oromia and Somali regions. They detected the grave during an investigation of the former Somali administrator Abdul Mohamed Umar, who is facing trial on charges of human rights abuses and stalking clashes. Umar was forced to resign 4 months ago and was arrested weeks later after violence broke out in the provincial capital, Jijiga. Rights groups have written accused his administration of abuses such as torture, while some witnesses claimed he had ordered paramilitary raids on civilians in neighboring Oromia province after ethnic clashes there in September. Gabon's ruling party senior figures have called on the government to clarify the health condition of ailing President Ali Bongo. 59-year-old Bongo fell ill late last month during a visit to Riyadh to attend an economic forum. His spokesperson, Ike Ngudu, says doctors in Saudi Arabia, where he's hospitalized, had diagnosed him with severe fatigue and ordered bed rest. But a foreign source said Bongo had had a stroke. The consultative committee of the Gabonese Democratic Party said it was necessary to reassure the public at a time of wild rumors in the media and on social networks full of speculation that the president is incapacitated. When we return, international news, one dead in Melbourne stabbing, and in sport, Super Falcons ASEC Mimosas on the 16th to clash in friendly.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is NEMA News. In news around the world, Friday was a day of mourning and wailing in the Australian city of Melbourne when a man set fire to a pickup truck that was loaded with gas cylinders. The man also stabbed 3 persons, killing one before he was shot by police in what they called a terrorist attack. The utility truck carrying barbecue gas cylinders was on fire on a crowded street as a Somali-born driver stabbed bystanders and attacked police officers. The cylinders did not explode and the fire was put out within minutes. The attacker died in the hospital as did one of the victims. While a terror attack was going on in Melbourne, a heartwarming life-saving operation was being carried out at a hospital in the same city. Conjoined Bhutanese sisters were separated in a 6-hour operation on Friday, and the lead surgeon said he was quietly confident the infant would recover successfully. The 15-month-old twins, NEMA and Dawa, were joined from the chest to the pelvis. Doctors at Melbourne's Royal Children's Hospital said they had to separate the girls' livers, and the main challenge was reconstructing their abdomens. In 2009, doctors at RCHM successfully separated conjoined Bangladeshi twins Trishna and Krishna in a 25-hour surgery. Well, more past to them. The Philippines Anti-Corruption Court has ordered the arrest of former First Lady Imelda Marcos. She was convicted on 7 counts of graft during the 2-decade rule of her husband and former dictator Ferdinand Marcos. Imelda Marcos, now 89 years old, can avoid arrest and remain free if she appeals the decision. If denied, she can challenge it at the Supreme Court. Marcos said in a statement her lawyer is studying the decision and would file a motion for reconsideration. The widow of the late dictator is facing dozens of protracted graft cases that have hindered her since her family was toppled in an army-backed popular uprising in 1986. She's famous for a huge collection of shoes, numbering in the thousands, jewelry and artwork. The Trump administration has unveiled new rules on Thursday to sharply limit migrant asylum claims. He now says individuals across the U.S. southern border illegally would be barred from seeking asylum. Immigrant advocates denounced the move, saying it violated existing U.S. law that allows people fleeing persecution and violence in their home countries to apply for asylum regardless of how they entered the country. The regulations released on Thursday in conjunction with an order expected to be signed by President Donald Trump would effectively ban migrants who illegally cross the U.S. border with Mexico from qualifying for asylum. U.S. immigration officials said once the plan goes into full effect, migrants entering at the U.S. southern border would only be eligible for asylum if they report at official ports of entry. The Trump administration has already made it more difficult for migrants to qualify for asylum in the United States. Administration officials have said existing U.S. asylum rules encourage illegal immigration and bog down legitimate claims. The administration's plan, which invokes the same authority Trump used to justify his travel ban on citizens of several Muslim-majority nations, is likely to be quickly challenged in court. A U.S. appeal court in California has ruled on Thursday that President Donald Trump's administration would continue a program begun under former President Barack Obama that protects hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants who were brought into the country as children. The decision by the San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reserves the deferred action for childhood arrivals DACA program introduced in 2012. That program has shielded from deportation a group of immigrants who are called dreamers and has given them work permits, but it is not a path to citizenship. DACA currently protects roughly 700,000 young adults, mostly with a number previously as high as about 800,000. Legislation to extend protections for DACA recipients and provide them a path to citizenship failed in Congress this year. Up next, sport. Super Falcons ASEC Mimosas under 16 to clash in friendly. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM.
Huh?
That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sports. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will play ASEC Mimosas and the 16 boys in a test game at the Solbeni Stadium in Abidjan on Friday. The test game comes up 4 days after Thomas Danabi's ladies had settled in at the same venue for an 8-day final campaign for the African Women's Cup of Nations in Ghana. The Super Falcons had lost 3-2 in the first friendly match against Dominion Hotspur in Ekpe during a 2-week-long campaign in Lagos. Nigeria's women's national team have finally received their kits for the Ghana 2018 African Women's Cup of Nations on Thursday in Abidjan. They had left Nigeria for their training camp in Ivory Coast without their kits. 8-time African champion Super Falcons, who in Group B with Equatorial Guinea, South Africa and Zambia, traveled to Abidjan on Tuesday with different attires. Allegations had been rife that the team's kits were held at the Lagos airport. Current Africa Women's Footballer of the Year, Azizat Oshoala, who wore a LeBron James Los Angeles Lakers shirt, drew wide criticisms on social media. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.